Real quick, I want to tell y'all what I've learned about racism. I learned that with people who are racist, they're willing to compromise your race if you believe the same thing that they believe, if you take on the same ideologies that they believe, even if you guys are different races that, you know, are supposed to be rivals. For example, I've seen a lot of Hebrew Israelites have white Hebrew Israelites in their, their cliques with them. Why? Because they've taken on the Hebrew Israelite teachings. And so I've also seen many white people within hip hop who are not proud to be white. I've seen them accepted by many blacks within hip hop. You feel I'm coming from? If you're willing to not, if you're willing to put something above your race with another group of people who esteem their race, they'll embrace you. I've learned that. I have a friend who is married to a white woman, but he the white man is always on his mind, like he's angry at the white man and like he doesn't like the white man. No matter what he says to try to fix it, this is how you know that you are angry with the white man. He's very light-skinned, right? And I can make a video about light-skinned black people too, because they show very low self-esteem. A lot of them are some of the most pro-black, some of the most angry, bitter towards white people. Yes, light-skinned black people are some of the most defensive for the black race. I mean, I could go down the line, whether it be Elijah Muhammad, Farrakhan, Malcolm X's mother, who married a jet black man because she said that she didn't like white people and stuff like that. Even my let me look up his name real quick because I got his information right here. Hold on for a second. His name is Benjamin Franklin Reynolds. Okay, he was a slave. He's my family member. His name is Benjamin Franklin Reynolds. Right, he was a slave, and he's my grandmother's great grandfather. Okay, he's my grandmother's great grandfather. He was a slave, and his name is Benjamin Reynolds. He's part white and, of course, part black. His father was a slave master. His name is Walker Reynolds, and he raped, his mother, which was really his sister, and then he raped, a bunch of other siblings of his. Well, Benjamin Reynolds, who was my grandmother's great grandfather, he married a woman named Nancy Hendricks. Okay, she was jet black. You understand? Because of his distaste for slavery and what he had to endure and stuff like that. Nonetheless, he had a good relationship with his father, and I don't know how that worked as a slave. Maybe he wasn't mistreated as a slave for him to have a good relationship with his father, because he named his son after his white brother. So, he had a good relationship with his white side, and he was respected. He didn't spend his entire life in slavery, but yeah. Anyway, the point that I'm making is that that's the whole point that I'm making about light-skinned black people. Now, when it comes to this racist ideologies and stuff like that, and racist mindsets and stuff like that, you'll see a black person. I've seen black people amongst the KKK, in black and white pictures, standing amongst them peacefully, There's also a story of a black man who was embraced by the KKK, and actually, even I think he became like best friends with one of the KKK members. I think this was in the 80s, perhaps the 70s. Anyway, um, but why? Partly is because somebody is laying something down. That black man was the one to be mature. So what we're seeing right now with a lot of black people who are accepted by, conservatives, because I don't believe that all conservatives are racist, but I believe that conservatives are very proud in their whiteness. And I believe that in Christianity, a lot of black people who are mainly online are promoting, that they really shouldn't be proud of their blackness. But white conservatives don't do that. You just got to understand that white conservatives, they don't promote that they're not proud of being white. They do promote that they're proud of being white. Now, I don't have no arms against that. I'm not upset about that. That doesn't bother me. In actuality, I like white people more when they're proud of being white. You know what I'm saying? If they're not disrespectful to my race and me, I like them more, because I don't like people who kiss up. Last night, it was a white guy who was talking against white people to me. I mean, some of the things he said was funny, but at the same time, like, he said, I don't want to run into a Trump supporter. And I'm like, well, I voted for Trump. Like, you didn't expect that. You feel where I'm coming from? Yeah, I did, because I'm against this homosexual agenda in schools. That's why I'm homeschooling. And I'm against the borders not being secured. And seeing all these people coming in murdering Americans, raping Americans, stuff like that. Why would you look at me crazy? You feel me? This stuff is happening in our backyard. Okay, I just told y'all about the illegal immigrant who just threw Dakara Thompson off the bridge like a few weeks ago. You feel where I'm coming from? So come on, man. He ain't even supposed to be here. You feel me? And this stuff happens all the time. A lot of these illegal immigrants are savages because they come from savage countries. Anyway, the point that I'm making is that a lot of people are proud to be the race that they're proud of. But what I'm noticing is more and more in the black community, black people are trying to promote a lot of things that are conservative, right? Not necessarily black conservative, but just conservative to America as a whole. And I don't knock that. But I'm noticing that there is no room for discernment in a lot of black conservatives. A lot of black conservatives don't make room for, and because see, now they're feeding them, now they're paying their mortgage. They've created all these YouTube channels and all these, social media accounts where they're being monetized, where now they got to pay their mortgage. So anybody who's white who kills somebody black, they're going to side with the white person. You feel I'm coming from? Because they got to pay their mortgage, because that's part of the conservative talking points. You feel I'm coming from? So now you can't even trust, not saying that you should trust, but I'm just saying, like, now you can't even really think that they're genuine people. You see what I'm saying? You can't even think that you already know the liberals, they're not even like worthy. They're not even worthy. But what I'm saying is that there are so many black conservatives ready to come against black people, even if these black people perhaps might be in the right. These black people, like, for example, black people being upset with Charlie Kirk, they're not wrong, okay? They're not wrong, because many black people are just now finding out about him. And in them finding things out about him as they dig, they're seeing the things that he said. And they're not wrong. They're new to him. So you can't expect them to embrace him the way you did if you've already been fully invested in what he's promoted. They didn't know. It's just like you coming into the knowledge of somebody, you know what I mean? That you know. So, like, and he has many things online that you can see. that he didn't carefully say. You feel I'm coming from? And so my overall point though is that a lot of black conservatives, right? A lot of black conservatives, they're willing to, lower their esteem for their blackness because other races don't necessarily lower their esteem that they put in their race. But what you'll see is a lot of black conservatives will lower their esteem. And I'm not saying this because I exalt my esteem in my race, or I'm not saying this because I lower my esteem in my race. I'm saying this because other races who are conservative, namely white people, they're not lowering the esteem that they put in their race. That's why I'm saying this, because they're not lowering their esteem. Okay? And I understand why they're not, because liberal media is trying to make them look so bad that they're trying to, exalt their race and exalt their importance. So really, it's a lot of that. It's not really so much Jesus as much as everybody might want to act like it is. It's a lot of, white people don't have the privileges that you think, and the conservatives are making talking points like white people, we're not that privileged like you guys think, and and they're defending a lot of things surrounding whiteness, and I'm not even opposed to it at all. But in me not being opposed to it, when it's time for a black person and a white person to clash, and it pops up in the media, black conservative YouTube channels and black conservative media outlets and black conservative social media accounts that are monetizing are not even usually, they just are siding with the white person. And that is not discernment, because wrong doesn't have to do with race. Wrong has to do with character, okay? So you have to assess the situation. And a lot of times in their assessments, a lot of times what they do is they lean towards the white. Me personally, I don't think much of white people, okay? I don't. I just am surrounded by black people who I also don't think much of. And when I say I don't think much of them, meaning my black race, is I don't think much of them regarding standing up for them in their wrongs, standing up for them in their defense, when we got too much to be, dealing with within our own community. You guys hear those sirens. Somebody probably just got shot. Somebody probably just got stabbed. Okay? We got too much going on within our own communities, whereas though we don't have to be focused on what the white man is doing. But what happens is when a white person is wrong, you're not really going to hear from it in black conservative media outlets. And the real reason why you won't is because that is not going to help them pay their bills. You understand? So you have to understand that when you're dealing with people, this is the time of the itchy ears. It's just like liberals. Liberal media is not going to go out of their way to make black people look bad. They're going to go out of their way to make black people look innocent, okay? Even if that black person is wrong. This is the reason why you can't make black people wrong all the time, and you can't make white people right all the time. And you can't make white people wrong all the time, and you can't make black people right all the time. You have to be where the mind of Christ is. You understand? You have to be where the mind of Christ is at. Okay? Because look at Malcolm X. He spent all that time coming against white people, and he was killed by a black men. Look at Charlie Kirk. He spent all that time opposing black people for whatever reasons, and he got killed by a white man. You see what I'm saying? It just doesn't, it's not unto edification. It's not, You know what I mean? There's no benefit that comes from preaching against race if it's not your own. You understand? Sure, you can mention things about other races, but it really has to do with this. It's not even about preaching against any race, but the real reason why Jesus always came against the Jews is because he was amongst Jews. The real reason why Paul was always coming against the Jews is because he was amongst Jews. And a lot of times the word the Jews refers to like the leaders of Judaism. That said, you know, yes, Paul mentioned the Cretans, which were of Japheth, Europeans, right? And he said that they're liars and lazy gluttons, okay? So, I'm not saying that you can't say anything, but what I'm saying is that we shouldn't go out of our way to like always focus on that. And Charlie Kirk's ministry was always focused on, conservative talking points, like who's committing the most crime rather than sin, okay? Because like I told you guys the other day, a crime can be something that's not a crime tomorrow, okay? Like prostitution isn't a crime in Las Vegas. You feel I'm coming from? Marijuana is not a crime in the majority of the places in America now we see. You feel I'm coming from? So a crime from yesterday can be not a crime today. You see what I'm saying? So we got to be careful to not be like them, because that's not Christian. That's conservative talking points, okay? And that also triggers racists to not like you because it's not profitable. That's why. You're going to make people not like you, and they're not liking you because of Christ. Hey, don't attach Christ to it. No, they're not liking you because you're acting like somebody's worse than the other, when in all reality, Jesus did not preach that any races are worse than others. You understand? That's not something that Jesus preached, because Jesus preached that everybody has sinned. It says all has sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. All, okay? Okay. This is the only reason why yesterday I went out of my way to elaborate about how homosexuality is more prominent in the white race. There's 60%, okay? 60% of the homosexuals community is white, okay? Okay, only 12% is black and 21% is Latino. But they're trying to make black people the face of homosexuality in, liberal cities, because a lot of liberal cities have black people there. And they want us to also be part of that, because ultimately it has to do with depopulation agenda. Anyway, because, homosexuals don't populate. And so they want to, they want to depopulate. But they're using us to be the face. That's racist, okay? That is racist. Because we're still not biting it, really. You know what I mean? We're still not even like 20%. You see what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's working more amongst Latinos. You feel I'm coming from? It's still shameful to us. It's not really who we are, because technically black people are more conservative naturally, okay? And our women aren't built like, most of our women aren't built like 10-year-old boys. You see what I'm saying? So maybe that plays a part. I don't know. And I'm not saying that to try to come against any other race, but I'm just saying, like, you think we're going to give up all that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you think we're going to give up all that femininity right there? Like all that feminine body? You think we're just going to, like, no, come on, man. We don't have those issues. Our women look like women. And I'm not saying that to, I'm just being honest. Like, because I'm not saying that because there's also tons of beautiful, voluptuous, curvy white women, tons, okay? To the point where you can honestly say that being curvy is not a black thing, okay? It's a woman thing. It's a female thing, okay? So, yeah. But these talking points, we gotta be careful to not overly indulge, because they're not promoting Christ. They're promoting conservatism, okay? They're promoting, the liberals don't even count. I don't even need to talk about them. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful, because racism, it is real, but in it being real, you have to know that you're only accepted because of what you are helping them defend. Okay? If I help, like for example, I had to tell my Christian brother one time, I said to him, if you don't go to your church with a suit on, see how they'll embrace you. I said, they're really only treating you that way because you wear a suit, because you have agreed to wear a suit in that church. Okay, because this is a Pentecostal apostolic type church where, you got to wear a suit. So I told him, I said, bro, the only real reason why they're appreciating you and all this kind of jazz that you're claiming is because you're wearing a suit. Take that suit off, wear a t-shirt and jeans, see how they treat you. You might not even be anointed no more, okay? You might be backsliding. You feel I'm coming from? Because you're not wearing a suit. You see what I'm saying? And challenge yourself. You have to challenge yourself in your thinking as a Christian. This is how you grow. Feel me? You can't just do the things you're comfortable with, okay? Because these things will seep into your ministry. The things that you're comfortable with will seep into your ministry. And before you know it, due to the fact that you were raised around white people, right? So you gravitate towards white people because you were raised around them. That's going to show up in your ministry. You see that? Or because you were raised around black people, you gravitate more towards black people and you're not really open to other races of people. That's going to show up in your ministry. You understand? Or trying to just, go along, and you can't even talk about race. That's going to show up in your ministry, that you're scared to talk about various things. Paul wasn't scared. The books that we are reading are races of people. Romans, Galatians, Philippians, Ephesians. These are races of people. You feel I'm coming from? So we got to get over the silly small stuff. Even it's small and silly to act like you're too big to talk about race. Nobody in the Bible was too big to talk about it. Okay? So we have to see differences. We have to bring forth the foolishness of who we side with. Okay? I don't side with black people. I don't side with white people. Okay? Now, culturally, I'm more leaning towards black because I'm black, but I side with the truth. I see wrong in black. I see wrong in white. Okay? I side with the truth. Okay? I wasn't there when that little black boy stabbed up that white boy and they was on the football field and stuff. I wasn't there. I have no judgments about it. Okay? I wasn't there. I'm not taking no sides. I wasn't there. Okay? There ain't enough stuff out there to make me choose a side. And what you were seeing was a lot of black folk was siding with the white people. You feel me? And then the father of that little white boy wasn't even in his life. and he was doing most of the talking between the two parents. And he wasn't even in that boy's life, okay? He didn't even help raise that boy. So we just got to be careful, man. We got to be careful. And I'm not, like I said again, I'm not siding with the black boy either. I don't know nothing. I wasn't there. I didn't see enough. I wasn't there, okay? And people just can't be content with not knowing something. People always got to pick a side. Everybody ready to pick a side. That's wrong too. Why are you so ready to pick a side? Why are you so ready with little evidence? Why are you so ready? You feel I'm coming from? Now, I could pick a side with that black guy who stabbed up that white girl from Ukraine or whatever she was in Charlotte. He was dead wrong. That black guy was dead wrong. Easy. But there's also a bunch of white guys who are killing black women in dates. They're dating them and killing them, or in marriages and stuff like that. I'm seeing it. So it's like, we're not going to talk about that. No, everybody has wrongs on each end. Everybody. And yes, more white people are killed by black people. Yes. And the reason why more black people are killing white people is because white people are living in areas where there's a lot of black people. Okay? But black people aren't going out of their way to go to Utah. Black people aren't going out of their way to go to areas where white people are to kill them. We're not doing that. But if you gentrify and you enter, what is the word? You intermingle, you get involved in interracial marriages, interracial dating, you integrate all together. Yeah. Yeah, because black people, we're not in rural areas. And I don't say this in our defense, but I'm just saying this because it's the truth. We're not in rural areas. We're not in places where there's like, farming, a lot of farms and stuff like that. We're not, and there's still a lot of white people in these populations. And we're also not in places where there's a lot of trailer parks. You feel I'm coming from? So when you see a black person with a white person, usually they're in a bigger city. You feel I'm coming from? Where, there's more integration. Yeah, that's the real reason. But it's not just because we're just only evil. No, because these black people are also killing black people in a crazy amount of numbers. So naturally, white people are going to be victims of that too, because black people are the ones killing tons of black people. So you think that black people are just going to be killing tons of black people? And y'all can move in and y'all not going to be getting killed too? No. But this was Charlie Kirk's talking points. His talking points were black people kill white people more than white people. It's not worthy. You know why it's not worthy? Because white people kill more white people than black people kill white people. That's why it's not worthy. Every race kills their race more than other races. So why talk about that? It's petty, okay? It's because you're trying to make us look like we are a problem. No, okay? It's trying to make us look like we are a problem. You feel I'm coming from? No, if you move, if a black person moves in a white community, if black people start moving in white communities and white people don't leave, right? We're going to start getting killed by white people too. You feel I'm coming from? You understand? If African people start moving in African American communities, African people going to start getting killed, okay? Nipsey Hussle, okay? Ethiopians are moving, Eritreans, Ethiopians, whatever you want to call them, they starting to get involved in black culture. They get married to black people, because that's what happened with Nipsey Hussle. His mother married an Eritrean man. He grew up half race, but when you look at him, he just looks like an Ethiopian person. And guess what? They killed him. Why? Because you're gonna get killed like everybody else getting killed. You part of the situation. You part of the program. That's what happens. You move into these communities, you're gonna get killed with these communities. You know what I'm saying? If I go move to Spain, in a rough area of Spain, if I go move to France, in a rough area of France, you feel me? If I go move to Mexico, come on, man. What you think, I'm gonna be all right? No. All right, so that's just common sense, okay? But see, when you go out of your way to act like these people are the bad guy people, this is why people are going to call you racist, okay? This is the reason, because you lowered yourself. You brought yourself to a lower level. That's not the gospel. That's not the message of the gospel. That's not the presentation of an ambassador of Christ. That's not the presentation of an ambassador of Christ, okay? Okay? When I'm in the white communities preaching, I'm preaching about things that pertain to white people. When I'm in the black community preaching, I'm preaching about things pertaining to black people. This is the reason why you hear me talk this way, because I come from this thread of understanding, okay? This is the reason why I talk about race, because I've dealt with different races in my preaching. I've had to preach in different areas where I had to talk about different things amongst different people. You feel I'm coming from? But if you ain't deal with different races of people, you ain't gonna understand. You're not gonna understand. I'm crazy. You feel me? But David Wilkerson ain't crazy when his buddy told him, "Hey man, it's a whole audience of Puerto Ricans out there. You're missing it." Like I told y'all in the other video, I had to tell my brother, "Why is you preaching about Himalayans, and why is you preaching about Krishna and Hindu on MLK Avenue? We're in Southeast DC, one of the worst areas of America, and you're preaching about Hindus." You feel me? One of the worst areas in America, okay? Not DC. One of the worst areas in America, okay? There was a video where they just showed like the street of MLK, and they didn't show any people. They just showed the street. and they just let us hear the sounds that was going off. It sounded like Baghdad, okay? It was nowhere near July 4th, none of that. It sounded like Baghdad, okay? I'm being honest. So I'm going to focus on the problems going on within my own people, man. Jesus preached about the Jews, you feel me? If I was black living around white people, I would preach against what's going on amongst the white people who I'm amongst. You feel me? You got to preach amongst, our focus needs to be our communities. That's how we bring people to Christ. Stick to your community and then grow from there. The problem with Charlie Kirk also is that he didn't say white liberals. He just said liberals, okay? But when he said black, he just said black. He didn't say black, and try to speak in better detail like he did with white people. He spoke in better detail, white liberals. But when he said black, he just said black. That's going to affect black race, okay? That's going to affect the black race. This is the reason why Jews can get offended with Kanye West when he comes against Jews. No, what should Kanye West be speaking? He should be saying the elite Jews who run these top businesses, okay? That's going to free up all the other Jews who don't got it like that just because they're a Jew, okay? Who aren't privileged just because they're a Jew, okay? This stuff matters. People don't think that you have to be careful with your words, but you do, okay? And I'm going to end this note one more time by saying none of these races are your friends, okay? If you're part of the Black Hebrew Israelites, white people, listen to me. The Black Hebrew Israelites aren't your friends just because you joined their cult, okay? If you are part of the conservative party, the Republican conservative party, listen to me, black people. The conservatives aren't your friends just because you have taken on their talking points, okay? Just because you have taken on their ideologies. Keep paying attention to other things that prove that white people have problems too, and they're not going to like that, okay? They're not going to like that. There's a little black guy. Now, I'm not going to say little. There's a black guy. I believe it's North Carolina or Alabama. I forget. Or it could be two separate incidents. But there's a black guy who, in one of these southern states, I forget. It's either Alabama or North Carolina. I forget because I haven't paid attention to it for a while. But he was killed by a group of white police officers. And the entire town is shutting down the talk about it. The entire town. I watched enough videos on it, okay? The judge, not the judge, but like the media, everybody in that town is shutting down talk about it. Only the black people from that community is trying to keep it alive, and it's not growing any traction. Not even CNN, who tries to make white people look bad, is even talking about it, okay? And these are more than these are more than one white police officers who's guilty of this man's murder, okay? So this stuff still goes on. When my mother was in, I told you guys a while ago, when my mother was in Barnes and Nobles, this is like 2000 and like, maybe 13, 12, I don't know. Or maybe 2014, I'm not sure, but about around that time frame, she was in the Barnes and Nobles. Two white ladies were behind her. They told her that there's a lot of black people who are still being hung in the South, okay? And they said, we can't even talk about it because they'll kill us, okay? This is in 2012, around 2012. This is the 2010s, the early 2010s. This lady told this to my mother in line in the Barnes and Nobles, okay? Okay? So we have to know this. Otherwise, we're going to be looking real weak. And the further you continue in life, God is going to teach you. So you might as well learn today, okay? Nobody is good. There is no good race. There are bad black people who are always killing white people. There are bad white people who are always killing black people. Even if, and I'm going to be honest with you, some of these numbers that are of white people who killing black people probably aren't even really documented because, as you see, they can't even talk about it. It's not even, the whole, they have towns where they don't allow it to get out to the media. The town, the whole town's damn near related, okay? So we got to be careful with siding with sides, okay? Because even me knowing this about these hick towns doesn't make me side with black people to the point where I'm just so focused on blacks that I don't see any black bad over here with the blacks. No, black people killed my son, okay? When I was 5 and 6 years old, black people killed my cousin Gilbert, shot him in the back of the head, execution style, threw him in the sewer, okay? So this is a problem. Just America has a problem, period. Whatever race you are. We just have a problem as Americans, okay? All right, so yeah, we need to be careful to not side with race. Side with Jesus, okay? Side with the truth, okay? God bless you in the mighty name of the Lord Jesus Christ, okay? And I'm not liberal. They don't even count. So let's just know that, because people, they're so like bound by these parties where they'll be like, oh, Jonathan's going liberal. What are you talking about? They're not even worthy of speech. They should be all like put on one island, okay? They shouldn't even be in America. They should just be put on one island and just live y'all liberal life on that island. Don't come back to America. That's how I feel about liberals. Okay, God bless you in the mighty name of the Lord Jesus Christ. I give more grace to conservatives because they got some Christian values, but I'm not even about to go gun ho for them. Okay, so God bless you in the mighty name of the Lord Jesus Christ.